Remains of veteran musician Dr. Pandit W.D. Amradeva placed at the Independence Square. Final rites to be conducted tomorrow. Blaze destroys auditorium of Museums College, Colombo. Expose on the share transactions of perpetual treasuries, which is at the center of the controversial central bank bond issue. The US presidential race heats up. Clinton and Trump level in the latest poll results.
A very good evening to you. You're watching Prime Time News on News First. I'm Chaturanga Pawarati.
And I'm Rahna Farooq. Let's start off with your top story for tonight.
Nawatan soya apayanawa eyanagangane kotanakadi ho budu himisevane sila labewa etamai mage patuma budu himisevane sila labewa මම මේ සමාප්ත කරනවා මගේ පැතුම ඔබ හැමෝට මගේ ප්‍රණාමය.
That was the last public statement made by late veteran maestro of Sri Lankan classical music, Dr. Pandit W.D. Amradeva. He uttered those words at an event organised on behalf of Venerable Rambukkana Siddhartha Thera and passed away unexpectedly a few days later. The remains of Sri Lanka's most acclaimed musician is currently lying at the Independence Square in Colombo for the public to pay their last respects.
The cortege of Pandit W.D. Amradeva was accompanied by prominent personalities in the fields of music and cinema as it was brought to the Independence Square from a private funeral parlour in Borella.
I was able to come so far in my journey in the field of music, which spans over 5 decades, because of Pandit Amradeva. I was reborn through the work of Pandit Amradeva. He considered me like one of his children. Thus, we were able to inculcate all of his good qualities. May he be blessed and rest in peace.
Dr. Pandit W.D. Amradeva breathed his last yesterday, ending a golden era in the history of Sri Lankan classical music and bringing a nation to tears. Amradeva, who was 88 years old at the time of his demise, gifted a number of deep, meaningful songs to the genre of Sri Lankan classical music. This is the manner in which President Maithripala Sirisena participated in the funeral procession and paid floral tributes. Thousands of members of the public lined in the streets leading to the Independence Square in order to pay their last respects to the veteran maestro. The casket was carried on the shoulders of the president and fellow artists as it made its way into the Independence Square.
Sri Lanka's most acclaimed musician, Pandit W.D. Amradeva's remains were brought here to Independence Square in Colombo. Members of the general public have lined up to pay their last respects to the late musician. His final rites will take place tomorrow, and until then, his remains will lie here at Independence Square for the general public to pay their last respects.
I hope that he will be born again in this nation and entertain us with his music and bring pride to our motherland. As a nation, I believe that no matter how much respect we show, it is not enough.
While the final rites of Pandit W.D. Amradeva is scheduled to take place tomorrow evening under full state honours, a week of mourning has been announced by the state in order to honour the late musician.
A fire erupted at the auditorium of Museus College, Colombo this evening. While the cause of the fire has not been ascertained as yet, no one sustained injuries in the blaze.
The school administration said that the fire broke out at around 3:15 p.m. The auditorium, located on an upper floor of the school, situated down Barnes Place, sustained extensive damages. The Colombo Fire Brigade said that 10 trucks were deployed in order to douse the fire.
At about 3 o'clock, it was reported that a fire erupted at this auditorium. When we spoke to the principal, she told us that no injuries have been reported so far, and the reason behind the fire has not been ascertained yet.
The fire started around 3:15, but yet to find out the cause of the fire. But I believe there's a considerable damage to the buildings, and the happy thing is that nobody is injured or there are no casualties at all.
By the time we arrived, the entire auditorium was engulfed in flames and filled with smoke. We then opened the doors on either side and began to battle the flames. It was then that we realized the severity of the fire. So we called for another 5 fire trucks to battle the flames. We deployed nearly 60 firefighters, and now the fire has been completely doused. The fire spread rapidly since the chairs in the auditorium were made of plastic. The plastic caused the flames to rise high. We cannot estimate the cost of the damage as yet. From what we see now, we can estimate that nearly 90% of the auditorium was destroyed in the blaze.
A regional seminar series on enhancing public financial reporting to promote growth in SAR got underway in Colombo yesterday.
The inauguration event saw the participation of the Minister of Finance, Ravi Karunanayake, Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, members of the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank.
It is also appropriate to be attending this conference at a time when in the next 7 days, the government of Sri Lanka, through the Minister of Finance, myself will be presenting the 2017 budget. We have certainly tried to ensure that sense of display of professionalism in governance in order to ensure that there is a sense of acceptability of what we have been saying. I happen to play dual role. I am a politician but also happen to be a professional. So without sacrificing the principles of professionalism, I have got to be realistically addressing the political issues that are able to be focusing onto the people of this country. I am happy to see that the World Bank and ADB have had confidence in the new government that got elected on January 2015 and have been enhancing their lending owing to the fact that we have been utilizing the funds that have given to the best of our ability. But I'm surprised as to how we've been lending to the government because the reputation has been far from a sense of professional display.
7.1% growth in South Asia as a region. That's pretty impressive. Expected to go to next year to 7.3%. That's even more impressive than one would normally expect. Now we know that to allocate scarce public resources and create the necessary fiscal space for development spending, one needs to create an environment that boosts jobs while protecting the poorest, because we do not want them to end up even being poorer than when we began. To do this, the legislature and the public need and they want information on how those resources that are controlled by the government are managed and they are used.
Presently, ADB is assisting the government of Sri Lanka in an area of integrated treasury management by implementing an efficient, automated public financial management system. I do hope this exercise could be completed soon, and to be implemented successfully. It is my firm belief that the use of such standards will provide greater transparency, improve accountability, and demonstrate greater credibility of the implementing agencies. Above all, it will help attract more foreign investors, hopefully, which is the most important requirement for the government of Sri Lanka at this juncture.
Perpetual Treasuries Limited, which is at the centre of controversy over the central bank bond transactions, has purchased over 6 million shares of the National Development Bank, or NDB, during the third quarter of this year.
According to the share ledger of the National Development Bank, Perpetual Treasuries Limited was listed as one of the top 10 shareholders of the bank as at 31st October 2016. Perpetual Treasuries has purchased 6.224 million shares, which accounts to 3.77% of the total number of shares. Meanwhile, another company by the name of Perpetual Equities Private Limited has been listed as one of the top 20 shareholders of NDB. This company has purchased 3.967 million shares, which amounts to 2.4% of the total number of shares. Incidentally, the quarterly report of NDB released on the 30th of June 2016 did not include Perpetual Treasuries or Perpetual Equities Private Limited in the list of top 20 shareholders of the bank. In the share ledger of the National Development Bank, the address of Perpetual Treasuries Limited has been listed as number 610 Gall Road, Colombo 3. The address of Perpetual Equities Private Limited has been listed as Level 3 Prince Alfred Tower, number 10 Alfred House Gardens, Colombo 3. However, the address of Perpetual Treasuries has been listed on the official website of the Colombo Stock Exchange as Level 3 Prince Alfred Tower, number 10 Alfred House Gardens, Colombo 3. This is the same address provided on the share ledger of NDB for Perpetual Equities Private Limited. Governor of the Central Bank, for your attention.
Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, W.A. Wijewardena, expressed the following views on Face the Nation last Monday night.
The Sunday Times carried a news story saying that the perpetual treasuries had been buying banks and finance companies. Because the perpetual treasuries cannot do that, because in terms of the central bank regulations, a primary dealer cannot own any banking institution. It can do only trading in the share market as a share broker, but not as a banker. So mainly because it appears that the profits would have been transferred to some subsidiary company which may have purchased all these shares in the market. So because of this reason, it is necessary to find out how the profits have been appropriated, who have got the profit, who have got the beneficial interest, and so forth.
After the expose on the purchasing of shares by Perpetual Treasuries on our sister channel Sirasa TV, the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka contacted News First and shared these views.
On the Face the Nation which I appeared, I mentioned that the primary dealers are not authorized by the central bank to buy shares of banks, but there should be a little correction to this particular statement. That was the position when I was in the central bank. But in 2013, the central bank has permitted primary dealers to buy listed shares, listed debentures, listed bonds, and listed commercial paper up to 5% of the total investment portfolio of the primary dealer company. Because of this reason, if the perpetual treasuries has purchased the shares of various banks and various other institutions, it is up to central bank to now look into whether the perpetual treasuries has exceeded the limit imposed by the central bank when they have purchased the shares of banks and other finance companies.
The committee appointed by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party to study the COPE report convened for the first time last evening.
State Minister Lakshman Yapabewardena, who is a member of the committee, said that it was decided to obtain external assistance to study the COPE report. He added that the final report will be produced to the President in 2 weeks.
Here's a look at several key judicial proceedings for the day.
The case filed against former Sports Minister Mahindananda Aluthgamage for an alleged misappropriation of 53 million rupees in purchasing carom and checkerboards for the Ministry of Sports was taken up today. Colombo Additional Magistrate Nishant Piris ordered for the case to be taken up once again on the 31st of March. MP Namal Rajapaksa was summoned to the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division to record a statement over the luxury car said to be owned by him. Several representatives of the National Freedom Front, including MP Vimal Veeravansa, were summoned before the Presidential Commission to investigate large-scale fraud and corruption. Meanwhile, former Inspector General of Police Mahinda Balasurya was summoned to the Presidential Commission to record a statement on providing VIP protection to NFF personnel who were not MPs.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe addressed the inauguration of the 15th Asia-Pacific Conference of German Businesses 2016.
Dignitaries including leading legal draftsmen, experts, entrepreneurs and journalists attended the conference held at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre.
The digital economy, that's one of the sectors to which we are giving priority because value added in the digital industry, in the software industry is what we will focus on. But for this, now we have introduced free Wi-Fi centers throughout the country, at least 1,000 I said in the first round. Concession loans are given to university students to buy laptops. We are increasing the number of institutes that are giving IT training. We need more engineers. We are welcoming investments in IT education. And now we are having compulsory, 13 years of compulsory education. And in the next 2 years, all the upper secondary students will be given tablets free of charge.
Meanwhile, Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe held bilateral discussions with the Vice-Chancellor of Germany, Sigmar Gabriel. The Prime Minister's office said during discussions, Germany's Vice-Chancellor had assured support to regain the GSP Plus concession to the European Union. Prime Minister and several other state leaders participated in a breakfast meeting held in line with the inauguration ceremony.
Politburo member of the JVP, K.D. Lalkanta, commented on certain overseas visits at a gathering today.
There was an allegation against Arjun Mahendran, but he left. His leader was here, the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister leaves, he returns. There is talk of black money as well. It is said that the Prime Minister is involved. It is alleged that Arjun Mahendra is also involved. That is why they are always moving. When he leaves, the other returns, and when the other leaves, he returns. These connections need to be probed.
Pay your taxes. Build the nation. Don't grudge it. A message from the Ministry of Finance.
Welcome back to the news. Who supports the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna under the leadership of Professor G.L. Piris? This is a topic that has sparked much debate in the political sphere. Here are a few views that were expressed in this regard.
We hope that in the future former President Mahinda Rajapaksa will contribute to a great extent, but we have to discuss with him regarding this party. There is still no consensus.
Will you be able to win under the new symbol of the new party?
That's for sure. Now you can't even get the position of chairman at a funeral society without saying you're not for Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Yesterday, the new party was formed under the Lotus Bud. What is the latest development?
Ask that from the party chairman.
Will you lead this party in the future?
I have not yet been appointed.
The new party is the Lotus Bud.
Don't ask me, ask GL Pires. The chairman is GL Pires. You'll have to ask him who the leader is, because we are from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. There might be many who want to see the former president leave the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. We will watch and wait. We can see that a number of members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party are not a part of this new party. When I spoke to members of the SLFP sitting in the opposition, they too didn't approve the formation of a new party.
Reports of human-elephant conflict surfaced today as well. This is considered as an issue that has seen no solution as yet.
A herd of wild elephants that graze near the Dolakanda tank located near the Dehiyatakandia town continue to incite fear in the hearts of the locals. Wildlife officers from Henaligala, the police and locals joined together to drive these wild elephants back into the wild. The village of Malvila in Valikanda Polonnaruwa came under a wild elephant attack early this morning. One house was severely damaged in the attack, however, there were no casualties. Locals say that despite informing the wildlife officers of this issue, no measures have been taken as yet.
The Ediri Managama in Kurunegala, constructed under the Houses for All Udagammana program, was vested with the public by Minister Sajith Premadasa today.
This is incidentally the first Udagammana concept village opened in the Kurunegala district. The village comes under the purview of the Bamunukotua Divisional Secretariat in Variapola. Deeds for 24 houses were presented at the event, while another 400 families were given Visri housing loans and another 40 were presented with land deeds. I was shocked by the demise of Maestro Amaradeva. The first thought that came to my mind was that to commemorate him, I must carry out a large-scale development drive for the public. I mention it here today, that 10 days from now, I will commence an Udagammana village in the name of the late Amaradeva.
Amaradeva Sri Matanange Name Venuwen Mang Udagammanayak Arambha Karanoy කියන එක.
Sri Lanka Navy recorded the first win in the Interclub Rugby League today. The Sailors defeated the Sri Lanka Police with a score of 29-8.
Sri Lanka Navy dominated the first half over the Police with 14-8 on the scoreboard. The game was played at the Police grounds in Bambalapitia. The Sailors scored another 15 points in the second half whilst managing to keep their opponents at bay. The final score was 29-8 with victory to Sri Lanka Navy. The Sailors led by Goshan Vanasinghe claimed victory with 4 tries, 2 conversions and 1 penalty.
Moving from rugby to football, St Thomas's College Mount Lavinia emerged victorious against Royal College Colombo in their 23rd annual football encounter.
The match got underway at the CRNFC grounds in Colombo. The under-19 match, which was the highlight of the series, which featured games under 5 age categories, ended in the goalless draw. A penalty shootout was held to decide the winner. St Thomas's College proved themselves as the stronger team of the evening by scoring 5 goals to Royal College's 4.
And that's the wrap for tonight's primetime news. For the News First team, I'm Rahna Farooq.
I'm Chaturanga Fuarachi. Take care and good night.